What are we doing? Hello, how's it going?
Hey guys, you might notice that we are not in Baja right now.
We're a long way
We
from
are
Baja.
far away from Baja, but we're actually going to be talking about Baja, and there will be future episodes where we are in Baja.
Before we get up to the pine forest of Montana. But we want to talk to you guys about our adventure sailing.
Yes.
So come along and we'll let you know our thoughts.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
Hey there, I'm Kelsey, that's Tim, and this is the story of our adventure. Life is fleeting, and we want to squeeze every bit out of it. We are wandering the world, so home is a bit of a moving target for us. We love finding the random, the remote, and sharing it all with you. So subscribe to get lost with us and hopefully find some inspiration to go after your own dreams.
All right, so the reason we're doing this is because while we were learning to sail, we didn't film a whole lot. So
It's pretty all-encompassing.
Yeah, we were either sailing, reading, taking a test, cooking meals. Like, it was busy, and so super hard to film, and our focus was obviously learning to sail. We did pay for this, and to us it's expensive to be able to learn to sail. So we wanted to get the most that we could out of it, and it was a big deal for us to go and do that. All right, good morning, everybody. This is the first morning that we've woken up on a boat, or at least that I've woken up on a big boat, and I slept pretty dang good last night, being exhausted. And we got to drive the boat a little bit. We put up a little bit of sail, so we experienced a tiny bit of sailing last night before we anchored. And I think today is going to be a good day, so I'm excited. I have a lot of reading to do because we've been busy, so getting the books pre-read was, I think I only got through one of them, so I've been doing a lot of reading while we're sitting here. And yeah, I mean, this was just an amazing night. So calm, so pretty. Now you can hear generators of boats are running and that sort of stuff, so it's not quite as quiet. But wow, what a beautiful way to wake up. Love it. Now we're watching all the fish. Tim jumped in this morning already. We'll have to do the same pretty soon. It's gonna be a good day. What to think about there, Tim?
What's that?
Deep thoughts?
Yeah, just thinking about sailing terms and trimming sails and all that. Yeah, we don't really pay for things like this, right? Like, we don't pay to take a tour usually. We don't pay for stuff like this. We're the types that want to learn it ourselves. But this is something that's so big. And if we're able to do more sailing in the future, having a foundation of having some idea of what you're doing is super important.
Yeah, so we figured this was
worth it.
A place that we could spend some money on.
But we also knew it was a lot to learn. And I don't know, it was so much to shove into our brains that we picked up the cameras in the evening usually for a little bit, or if one of us was sailing and we knew they sort of had it, we'd try and get a couple shots. But it was really tough to film without compromising what we were learning, and that had to be the first
or
priority.
hurting our gear, because you didn't want to like set a camera down and have it like fall off the boat or something. It was hard to keep everything together and get it. So we figured we would talk about it and tell you about it and show some footage, because we want you to know how excited we were to do this and how awesome it was to do this. And the video footage really doesn't reflect all of our feelings, I guess, about.
No, I mean, it was mind-blowing. So that's the overriding feeling that we had to go out on the water, the SeaofCortez, a place that I've camped on hundreds of times, and swam out and snorkeled and things like that, right? Kayaked out a couple times, but really never been in the SeaofCortez any real distance. And to be able to just sail out to an island under wind power, I mean, that's sort of mind-blowing to have something that big move. It was a 43-foot catamaran, kind of a giant catamaran for what it was.
All right, good morning. We are just lifting anchor and moving from our little anchorage here, so I thought I'd give you a quick little tour of our boat. So this is our little berth, our little head.
Okay guys, ready to hoist the main?
Well,
and to have that move under wind power, know how to make it move, and then choose your spot each night. You know, we were with some other people who were learning, of course, but to look at the maps and navionics and the sort of digital maps and then paper maps, and then look just in front of you and go, I don't like the looks of this bay, that one's prettier. Choose your spot, set an anchor,
yep.
and be able to be totally autonomous like that.
Yeah.
Looking back at Baja
Yeah.
from the Sea of Cortez on an island really was mind-blowing.
Not a bad sunset.
I mean, of course that sounds neat, and I just think, I don't know how to articulate, there was this other level that it like unlocked something for us.
Yeah.
Where we went, this is so much freedom.
Yeah.
There is no path to follow, there's no track.
No.
There is no, even a jungle track that's overgrown, you're still following a track, right? Yep. The only time in a truck I think that we're truly choosing our own path would be in the sand dunes.
Yeah,
right?
sand dunes are like the dry lake beds in like Bolivia.
And stuff like that. Yeah, you can, you know, it's allowed to just kind of go wherever you want because it doesn't really
at your own risk.
Yeah, at your own risk. Doesn't leave much of an impact in the sand. But this was just so mind-blowing that everything was a choice, and I loved that.
All right, so there is not much wind, but we are doing a motor sail because it's pretty right now, and we're just gonna go around this little island and just enjoy being on the boat. So I'll show you some of the sights.
Cameras?
More cameras. I'm taking your video. Okay, so this little island that you can barely see behind me has been lived on full-time by fishermen, I think, for 100 years, which is pretty crazy. So around the islands there's little huts that aren't fully like full-time inhabited, but this one that we're coming up to has been, which is pretty neat.
We both thrived on constantly making all these choices, Working hard felt really good to
Yep.
lift sails, trim sails, change sails,
Yep.
and just all the acts that you had to do to move this boat around, which was it's time consuming. It's a lot of hard work.
There's a lot of pressure. I mean,
yeah,
you know,
totally.
like there's a lot that lies, your life, your boat, everything relies on you doing all of this stuff correctly.
Other people's lives, your life. You know, you're anchoring next to somebody, you're trying to think, okay, I don't want to be that guy. You know, will we all swing together, or they have a different kind of anchor going on and they have a stern anchor, we could swing into them. Like, there's so much to think about, and there's monetarily, that's a stressor. There's a lot at stake. And so you're really trying to figure all this out and think about absolutely everything. But it's all new. So it's like the third night, you're exponentially better than you were the first night, but you're only on the third night. I mean, you know next to nothing, but you've quadrupled in that short time frame what you've learned. And I don't know, it was just a super cool experience.
Yeah, and you might be wondering, sailing, that's a surprise. Although some of you probably are not too surprised, because I think a lot of you have seen how interested in sailing we are if you watch a lot of the videos. But this is something that we have been dreaming about learning and doing for a long time. Honestly, I think one of the things before we even left on our adventures that kept us like inspired was watching sailing videos. And so since before we left, it was something that we always felt like was like the next level, something that we weren't ready to do yet.
Let's do the thing we know how to do and we're comfortable with.
And can afford.
When we first met, and that too, sailing, just like a lot of these activities, but so did overlanding around the world, seemed like out of reach things for other people, for people who have serious amounts of money, you know, and maybe abilities to work remotely anywhere in the world. We didn't have any of those. And so we looked at the overlanding as being pretty impossible to pull off, but let's try it for a year. And here we are all these years later, working and traveling and working and traveling. And then the sailing, I think it was within 6 months of us meeting, we started watching sailing YouTube channels. And we don't really watch off-roading YouTube channels only because we do that. I've done it my whole life. Done a lot of it. I don't want to watch more. It's not escapism. It's what I do, right? And so sailing was the thing we didn't do, but that we kind of thought, well, this is interesting. But I don't know if even at first we thought we ever could, you know?
And it's kind of interesting, actually, like when we first decided to quit our jobs and, you know, live in a truck, it's almost like reliving that, going, like looking at sailing and people, you know, oh, you can't do that. It's something you only talk about, you don't do. And, you know, there were a lot of fears put on you, I guess I'd say it that way, from other people of going, well, what about this and what about that? And we just went, well, I don't know, or we'll find out. And it feels almost exactly the same way looking into boats because, you know, there's the things that people always say, oh, you know, the best day of a boat is the day of a And like, yeah, I haven't heard that one before. And, and what about, do you get seasick? And it's like,
what about pirates?
Yeah.
What about, you know,
all these, everyone's fears go on to you. And so, if nothing else, I think that encouraging you guys to do whatever it is that you want to do, you can do it. Don't let other people's fears scare you away from doing it. And I think we're just reliving that again as we kind of delve into the world of boats and boating and sailing. And
at least we've been down this road before in terms of doing something that most everyone that we know thinks is dumb or crazy
or impossible or dangerous or
all those things. But we're also the type too, we were always the people in our families who were worrying about everything. We were the two kids in each of our respective families whose head was on a swivel, looking for what's going on. You know, if we were on, like, we'd do a water ski trip to like one of the lakes in Arizona, Utah, or like Southern California, and I would be watching all the adults, you know, like, oh, that guy's not good at driving the boat. He's at the wheel right now. And then I'd be like, okay, can I drive? Okay. And then I knew, like, okay, we're not going to crash now or whatever. We were both the ones always worrying. So when people tell you, you can't do that, it's too dangerous.
What about this? What about that? You're like, I've thought of it all.
I thought about it.
I'm worried about all of it.
I thought about it again. And then I read up on it. And then I researched it. And then I talked to somebody who had done it and how they dealt with it. And like, we're definitely, in a sense, worrywarts. It may not seem like it with some of the stuff we do, but we definitely are. And I think that's sort of why now it's starting to become old hat for us to be able to go and do things that we think are dangerous or scary or impossible or financially not possible. And just do it anyways and find some sort of way that it works. And it'll be stressful, it'll be scary, but this felt like some big step for us.
Mm-hmm.
It was just amazing. I mean, that moment, the final day we were out there and we had a lot of wind. So it had minimal wind. It was kind of perfect. It was like if you could schedule wind, it was very little and then ramping up. And then the last 2 days really, but the last day especially, we had, 18, 20 knots of wind.
Yep. We finally have some real wind today, and we are sailing. We're sailing!
But what are we really doing?
We're racing! Oh. It's a faster boat. We've been keeping up, we're slightly faster.
Yeah, and then the side part of this learning trip, which for us was all about the learning, is that you couldn't escape how beautiful it was.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And so you pull into these bays that are just turquoise water. It looks like the Caribbean.
Clear, beautiful, yeah.
And then, you're seeing sea turtles come up and investigate the boat. We saw
dolphins.
Dolphins, humpback whales.
Yep.
Rays. Giant manta rays that you can see them. They put the sides of their fins up and out of the water. So it looks like a lot of sharks or dorsal fins. And you get closer and it's just tons of manta rays. We even saw one breach and fly through the air. Dive down on the anchor to just see how it's set, make sure it's set well. And there's 50 little puffer fish, some big ones and some little ones, all hanging out by it. Because I guess it's sort of like in this big open bay of perfectly smooth sand, at least it's something to sort of hide behind.
Yeah.
And so they kind of gravitated to where the anchor was. But it was just amazing to be able to feel like we're there to learn. We're spending this money, all this time and this effort to learn. And then it's like, but this is like a nice vacation. If I were looking for a vacation and looking to learn how to sail, it kind of had that too.
Yep.
Although we were definitely trying to focus on the learning.
Making sure we got the most out of it.
Yeah, it was getting the most out of it. As soon as you were sort of done for the day, you'd read that book for tomorrow's test 2 times or something. And you'd go, look, I can't soak in anymore. Let's go swimming. Let's go paddleboarding.
Yeah.
And so it had this amazing ability to have both.
Yeah.
Out paddleboarding. Sitting on the paddleboard. It's a nice little spot to hang out. Just figured I'd give an update. We've passed our first test, the 101 ASA. It's good. It's I think it's a totally worthwhile thing to do so far. I know my opinion will change throughout the week. A lot of it is just boat related. So all that stuff growing up on boats, it's, sort of redundant, I guess, for me. But I think it's really been good for Kelsey, being able to steer a big boat and one with twin screws, operate a dinghy and cruise around. And then for both of us, all the sail stuff is really new. Besides little tiny sort of dinghy sailing, we have no sailing experience at all. So that's been really good. So it's my update thus far in the week. We'll see how it goes, but so far so good. I'm exhausted, but other than that, going really well.
Yeah, it was just a really special time and it's really cool to learn something new, because I feel like we love traveling in the truck, and I don't always feel like we're learning new skills in the truck. Maybe you're seeing a new place and you're meeting new people and there's a different language and all that kind of stuff is entertaining. But as far as the driving skills and learning all of that, we're always learning, but it's not different. A completely new skill.
I think for us, when we were doing the Central South America portion of our trip and travels, I was trying to push it more and more and get into deeper parts of the jungle, more remote, deeper mud, up a steeper mountain that's slippery. And that was where the fun came from, is pushing it. And at some point, you're just going to have to start breaking things, right? You have to get to a certain level where you're like, well, if we try and cross the Darien Gap in our truck, you're going to break things. It's going to take months. You might die, there's a certain level that we kind of had pushed it. And then the next level was so extreme that you went, well, have no interest in breaking goose or dusty,
right,
or the golden goose in any severe way anyways. And so for us, we had kind of done all the things we wanted to do in that regard. And so the sailing was neat because it's all new.
Yeah, it's a neat thing. It's just, it's different, and we're excited about it.
Totally.
And I don't know what will come of it, but it's cool that we've learned the very basics of how to sail.
Basics of how to sail, and now I feel like the next thing for us is to try and get on a boat more often, you know, and reach out to people who are delivering a boat somewhere and say, hey, we're very green, but we could be of some use. Like we have general ideas, you know, we're not, we wouldn't be a drag on somebody, let's say, moving a boat somewhere or going out and doing something. We could be helpful.
Yep.
And so that was the goal of these classes and certifications we got, was to get to a level of proficiency where you can be on a boat and add value and not just be a waste of somebody's time.
Yeah, completely learning everything. So anyways, that's the story of our little sailing expedition, and one of the reasons why we were heading down to the tip of Baja, to La Paz, to do this. And it happened to work out with all the races and stuff, so it was a lot of fun to see friends and watch the races. And then, get down there, hop on a boat. And once we got off, man, we were exhausted. It was so much learning and just go, 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 go.
And I think physiologically, your body is understanding all that movement of the boat. And so for 6 days, we didn't set foot on shore. We could swim to shore if we wanted, but we were always busy doing something or learning or just swimming. So we didn't touch dry land for 6 days. So when we got back, both of our bodies were trying to compensate for swaying.
I felt more
that wasn't
seasick on land than I had the whole time on the boat. And I didn't really feel seasick on the boat.
We actually, we got off the boat and got a hotel room because both of us felt so seasick from being on shore that we're just like, we need to not do anything, go to bed, and then the next day we'll go back to truck mode. And it kind of worked out.
Yeah, it was funny because we were, reading books and taking tests on the boat while we're moving and all that kind of stuff. Fine. We took one last test once we got to the shore, and
while we're taking it,
I was like, whoa, do you feel like a little seasick?
Yeah. Why are the words blurry?
Yeah.
We're sitting at a coffee shop and everything's moving.
But anyways, we passed all our tests.
Yep. So we have 4 certifications. I can't remember off the top of my head all of them are, but basically we can charter a boat now anywhere, hopefully anywhere in the world, assuming they recognize ASA, which most do. I think we could do coastal cruising and catamaran sailing, sort of specific ones to our interests, but also then just a general knowledge.
Yep.
And now we have to learn everything because we don't know that much. Really.
I would encourage you guys, if you're thinking of driving around the world or just driving anywhere, it doesn't matter.
Whatever your adventures, you're going to go bike packing
or anything.
Go do the Pacific Crest Trail or the Appalachian Trail.
Don't let people discourage you from doing it, because it's awesome to face your fears and the unknown, and you'll feel amazing after you do. I know leading up to it, it's scary and it's hard, but like once you do it, you'll be so proud of yourself and it'll be so worth it, and it'll open up so much in your life, I promise.
Yeah, you will look at everything differently. It will change you forever in the way you see things, and you'll realize that the old you is almost like a different person.
Yeah. So anyways, thank you for coming along and sitting through that.
Rambling there.
Sorry we didn't have, it's beautiful footage, but it's not a lot of us talking we said in this boat. So hopefully you enjoyed that, and
maybe one day we're on our own boat and we'll talk a little more then.
Yeah. So we'll see you next time when we're back in Baja
and we
on
have
land.
A long way to go to Montana.
To where we are now.
All right, see you next time.
Bye.